Okay, so hello, Hubblers. Is anybody there? So Karina and I are recording this for the Personal Growth Hub, but we may also be sharing this video at some point. So just so that you know, in case there's certain comments that you wouldn't want shared beyond the group. Okay. So Karina and I wanted to talk this week about self-esteem and confidence issues. I'm just actually checking my Facebook on my mobile to see if I can connect to any comments that people might make, as this is live.
Yeah, I've got my
You've got yours.
Got mine on here as well.
Okay, it's not showing up on mine.
It's just me.
Yes.
It's just me watching at the moment.
It is showing up on mine now.
Yeah.
There's no movement on there, but that's interesting. Okay.
Awesome.
We get there in the end.
Yeah.
So welcome. And what shall we talk about today?
Well, we were going to talk about self-esteem and self-worth, because that was something that came up from the last session that we did.
Yeah.
And that sparked my curiosity into, for myself, I think more than anything else, understanding the clear distinctions between what self-worth, self-esteem is, and how to wrap words around self-confidence as well.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes those different phrases can be talked about through counselling and coaching quite a lot, but do we really know what the differences are?
And I like that expression, Karina, wrapping words around something. I really like that.
Yeah.
So something about the distinguishing between what they mean.
Well, what they mean or what they are, and how to distinguish for ourselves what self-worth is versus what self-esteem is.
Yes.
So that kind of got me looking into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, everybody has areas to work on, and we can always improve on ourselves, even as coaches and counselors and therapists.
Yeah.
So for me to really, I guess, connect with my clients, but myself as well, I really wanted to be able to almost do it, dare I say it, compartmentalize them, so that I can go, okay, this is where my self-esteem isn't where I'd like it to be. This is where my self-worth is, and you know, that's okay, but maybe in this small area here, I've got more work to do on it. And that kind, do you know what I'm saying? That kind of.
So, sorry, I got sidetracked.
Did you?
Because I still got this. Anyway, it's okay. I'm just wondering if it's in the right place. Anyway, the recording. Sorry, Karina.
I'll check for you. Yes, it is.
Good. Okay. Yeah. And so I did get a little bit lost there, what you were saying, but so yeah, no, I am a little bit lost.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say it.
Well, let me find you. I was saying about compartmentalizing them so that I had clear distinctions.
Yeah.
So that almost like we can unpick things and go, oh, okay, so this is where my self-esteem could improve. This is where my self-worth is maybe missing certain elements that I can connect with and work on in that respect, so that I can get to where I want to be with whatever it is.
Okay, so you're making distinctions between self-esteem and self-worth, and kind of the importance of what they each are, so that you know where you need to put your attention to work on.
Yeah.
For yourself.
Yeah.
So what would you say were your distinctions between? What would you say are the distinctions between esteem and worth?
Well, before I did the research, I would have put self-worth as um, I wouldn't have had as many words as I do now, so it's kind of hard not to blurt it all out. But it would be how much I value myself, and then self-esteem would be how I felt about what I'm capable of.
Uh-huh. So worth is like its value.
Yeah.
What I am worth as a human, as a person.
More of that, yeah, that how we feel about our own value as a person.
Yes.
So, do we feel important? Do we feel worthwhile? Are we able to ask for what we need because we know we're worth it?
Yes. Yeah. Lovely. So if I'm in counselling, we talk about conditions of worth growing up, and that kind of goes really deep, actually, that kind of idea of who we are in essence. Am I worthy? And it's kind of, for me, that's kind of the it's kind of fundamental that we have some sense of worthiness, sense of worthiness, that we are of value and worthy, because from that everything else comes, I think.
So would you say that self-worth are the roots of that tree that can blossom?
Lovely. Absolutely. It's once we have a sense of who we are, then life is a, and if that sense of who we are is a healthy sense of being, then the world is your oyster. Potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially. You can deal with things, I think, completely in a different way, because your perception and the meaning you give to stuff is going to be that much more healthy than perhaps if your upbringing is one where you have low self-worth and you're not validated for who you are. And I mean, this happens from when we're babies, that kind of meeting where the caregivers ideally would be meeting the baby at every stage of where they're at, just by repeating the goo goo gaga noises is really hugely important for developing those neural connections that then help us to offer empathy as we get older. So the connections are really important in terms of development, and therefore worth. If we're met with where we're at and validated, that's huge. But it has to happen from babyhood.
I love what you said about well, actually I loved how you said it, what we give meaning to something, how we give something meaning.
Yes.
And that could be in a positive way or a negative way.
Yes, absolutely.
So depending on how nurturing our level of self-worth is, will dictate what kind of meaning we give to a situation, whether it's good situation or a bad situation.
Yes.
I guess if we don't have a good sense of self-worth, then even good situations are not going to be as valued or meaningful as they could be.
Absolutely. And that thing about feedback or constructive feedback, if we're receiving any at work or in our studies, for example, and the tutor or the boss or whoever might be, or a friend even, might be giving you really loads of excellent feedback, and then might say one or two things that not so good, and they might even deliver it really sensitively, but that's the thing that sticks. Because that really is something that perhaps might cut deep into that sense of, okay, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy.
That's quite common though, isn't it?
It's so common. It is so common. Very common. But somebody, I guess, with self-worth, they might dip into that, but can come out of it perhaps more quickly.
Okay.
Or less bruised from the experience.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a big one for dictionary definitions of things.
Synonyms and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because it helps me have a foundation to then start exploring
Yeah.
with. Uh,
Nice.
and one of the things around self-worth that I found was that it's the belief that you are lovable and valuable
Mm.
regardless of how you evaluate your traits. So it's
Mm.
that regardless of how you evaluate your traits, and that evaluation that we do with ourselves
Mm.
is then linked to self-esteem, isn't it?
Yes, it's what the bridge to self-esteem.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting as well. So
Mm-hmm.
the higher your self-worth is, the higher your self-esteem is going to be. And the
Uh-huh.
higher your self-esteem is going to be, the more self-confident you are.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
like, I always have these triangles. I find these
I
triangles.
like models. I like the diagrams. Yes, I do like a diagram and a
Yeah,
visual. Yes,
yeah. I've got them
nice.
all over my wall upstairs in my little coaching room. They're all like triangles.
So in this triangle, is it that you have? Is it layered like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or is it at each point of the
Points.
points? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? What does that mean?
No, no meaning. No meaning at all.
Yeah, you got me curious now.
No, I was just wondering how your visual was, whether it was the same as mine, and just
Oh, okay.
curious about it. You know,
Yeah.
the arrows going around, perhaps.
You've got one of those too.
Yeah, they help, don't they? Frame a
Yeah.
concept somehow.
And
Yeah, I
flow as
like that.
well. I find
Mm,
because quite often you can go in reverse as well as forward on these.
nice,
Um,
nice.
so even if your self-worth may be not as high, your self-esteem could be quite high, and that will positively impact your self-worth and therefore your self-confidence as well.
Yes.
And it can
So
go
it's not linear, is it?
no,
No.
not all linear. We can bounce back. We might have
Mm,
points in our lives where our self-worth is higher than our self-esteem, or vice versa. And I think it very much depends on the situation as well, which is something that I came across when looking into the self-esteem aspect of it, was that it's the way you feel about yourself in different areas. So
yes.
you could have higher self-esteem in one area than another.
Lovely. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, something that in a work scenario could be that you're really, perhaps you've achieved, you're able to achieve what you want to and succeed in work, but in your aspects of your personal life, it somehow your esteem doesn't work for you. Absolutely. And yeah, and vice versa. And I guess for me that's about really, it's what we focus on, it's what we're comfortable with, perhaps will give us a self-esteem. Is it to the detriment of other areas, or do we not delve into other areas because for some reason historically we've just not done well in those areas? I'm not sure where I'm going with this.
That sounds like confidence though as well. I think that one of the best things about confidence is a lack of self-confidence can be solved by gaining knowledge or practicing something or expanding our skills in a certain area, and gaining evidence that we are progressing. And that's, I think, possibly the most open and flexible area to tap into, and start feeling any kind of momentum towards a goal that we might have. And it's about how much we truly believe that we can do something.
Well, that's what I was going to,
How we see ourselves being capable of doing something. So we might know deep down inside that we are, but we don't have enough self-esteem to give us that little bit of an extra nudge to
Yes.
take those first steps.
And likewise, if we don't believe, if deep down we don't believe that we are good enough, then the whole thing can topple.
Yeah.
And create stagnation where the motivation to change won't be there.
It's like stepping out on stage and taking hold of a microphone.
Yeah. Yes, we were talking about that earlier because we both sung, haven't we, in gigs, done gigs.
Yeah, both
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ruined our voices now.
Yeah. Ruined
By
any
talking
chance. Yeah. Yeah. What are you saying, Karina? So yeah. But so belief, yes, belief is informed, isn't it? It's informed by the confidence that we might have. It's informed by the self-esteem and self-worth.
So is there a difference, do you feel, between self-belief and self-confidence?
I think if you have self-belief, then that gives you confidence. I guess if you have self-confidence, then that assumes a degree of self-belief. For sure. Yeah, definitely.
It's one of those lovely little circles again,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes. Do you like a circle?
Yeah.
Or a figure of 8.
Yeah, an infinity loop, isn't it? It's all energy flowing in the direction. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So was there a time in your life that you felt that you couldn't do something, but you surprised yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, yeah. Oh, do you know, in my youth, I did a lot of things quite blindly.
Yeah.
And that was a need to escape the reality that I was in. So it didn't matter to me whether I was going to be able to do it or not. I was going to darn well do it anyway.
Yeah.
So that was a huge level of stubbornness on my part and desperation almost.
Yeah.
But in terms of, in a more mature sense, and in adulthood, I would definitely say that would be to do with getting on stage and singing and playing the guitar, doing it absolutely with my legs trembling and didn't know if I was going to be able to stand up with my guitar and sing. But it was something that I wanted to do so badly.
Right.
It didn't feel like I had a choice not to.
Wow, the desire was so strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether I was any good or not, I don't, of course, you want to be good, but I wouldn't have done it if I felt that I was really bad at it.
Right. Yeah. You would have had that degree of self-awareness.
Yeah, well, I would
bring
also
you back from
somebody would have told me, don't do this, you can't sing enough.
Yeah, just going on to, leaving you to go on stage to an empty audience.
Yeah.
Thanks, yeah.
What about you?
Well, kind of similar. In my youth, I suppose I did think, when I look back, but I'm talking now my early 20s, I did stuff like community video work. I taught English, I did my degree, and it's kind of just life was just happening, and I was just going for it. And then there was a kind of lull. Actually, I was always doing stuff, but there was a lull in terms of purpose and meaning. And then creeping in the idea that actually, what could I do? So I was stuck in a job that was really boring for a long time. And then had the belief that nothing else would come my way. But at the same time being quite happy because I was working part-time and living in a housing co-op, so my expenses were really low. And actually I didn't have any real worries at that point. I wasn't really living my purpose or any of that stuff, until an opportunity did come my way to start teaching teaching media studies at a local college. And it was quite a jump from what I was actually doing at the time, which was housing support work for adults with learning difficult disabilities. And and I'd kind of forgotten that years before I'd done all this, you know, and yet I was plagued with the feeling of, oh my God, who am I to apply for that job? And actually work was giving out voluntary redundancies, which is what was making me think about different things, different opportunities. But anyway, yeah, so long story short, I did go for it, and I did get it, and then my life just changed from then on. I just flew, started to fly. But yeah, that kind of being on between those two worlds, really, of transition or not to transition.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said though, that you'd forgotten what you were capable of.
It's
and
almost
that really, you know, brings home with me as well, because you know, I remember a period in my life where I forgot myself. I forgot what I was capable of, what I loved doing, being creative, you know. I forgot. It's like, where does that go? How does it disappear, you know?
Almost
is that self-worth and self-esteem as well? What is, you know,
what is that that comes up, that we then pay attention to in ways that when we were younger we didn't.
No.
Yeah, and it's almost like ignorance is bliss in some ways.
It can be though, can't it?
When you're younger, you just do it, and you don't have those. And we're generalising. It's not the same for everybody, but certainly in our cases. But that, you know, period of time of forgetting, of amnesia. What?
Being asleep, maybe.
Being asleep, yeah. And then not really coming into self-awareness, for me, didn't happen till, I would say, started to happen in my early 30s, early to mid 30s even.
Yeah,
and it was a kind of gradual awakening, I would say.
I think that was about the same timing for me as well. I think I was in my early 30s. And I think my self-confidence had taken such blows that it was almost like I couldn't even attempt to give something a go, because everything that I had tried, because of the injury that I had, didn't work out. So I almost resigned myself to a life that wasn't going to be fulfilling. But I kept trying because of other small motivators that I had. And it was a long journey to go from there to where I am now. However, with each step, I start to wake up just that little bit more. And that grew my confidence just a little bit more. Like realizing, God, this is who I am. This is what I do. What I love. You know? And it just, you know, it took years. It took absolutely years until I felt confident enough to go, no, this is what I want, and I'm going to do it.
Wow. So this kind of gradual remembering, or gradual going back to you, returning home in a way, something like that.
Very much so.
And something about the small steps as well, which is really encouraging, I think, to hear. You know, that sometimes there's too much of an expectation that we need to get from here to here really quickly, and you know, in that kind of fast yin yang way. I got that right?
I call it the superhero way.
That's it. We don't have to be those, do we? We don't have to be a superhero in a different way. Or not even a hero. But so small steps to gain confidence gradually as a way of remembering who you were. That's lovely.
I think it's a bit like what Gabby Bernstein says in one of her books, that we don't have to go from feeling not great to fantastic. Like,
that's it.
0 to 60. We just need to find the next best feeling or thought. Us, you know,
exactly
to that point. And it is a it's an exercise, I think, in in strengthening ourselves, and that is a gradual.
Mm.
If you ask any personal trainer, you're not going to start seeing results on your body for at least 11 weeks.
Yeah.
When you start to want to get more fit or more healthy in your life. So
yeah.
there's a huge level of patience.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. Patience. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's something that, you know, gets us unstuck a lot of the time.
Yes. And also the thing about developing a habit, you know, which might be that new way of thinking and allowing to think differently about ourselves, and perhaps allowing in other opportunities to come our way as part of this new exercise or new routine, new way of being. Absolutely.
Not being closed off to new ideas. I think that was it.
Yes.
You know, for me, was the more I said, no, I can't do that physically, the smaller my world became.
Yeah.
So it was the being open to trying things even if they didn't work out.
Right.
You know,
Lovely.
being able to go, okay, I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
Let's go and look for something else.
Right.
And see what does fit, because things aren't going to fit like a glove straight away all the time. Even when you get a new pair of gloves, it takes a while for it to fit well.
Absolutely.
Patience and giving something maybe a little bit of time, unless we know absolutely 100% no, this is not for me.
And also that attitude, I think, that you're mentioning of actually there might be another way of doing it. And kind of that feels like quite an optimistic kind of approach to look at things, like, okay, I might not be able to do it this way, but actually is there another way, or could I do it differently? Which sounds quite hopeful, optimistic, life affirming. Otherwise I guess it could have been easy to have said no, that's it, and give up.
Well, and also just go, no, looking at evidence from the past, there's no way I'm going to be able to physically be able to do that. And what I learned in that process was, specifically with jobs that involve being in an office, was to ask for what I needed. So I had to ask, you know, I need a special keyboard, or can I bring my own in? I need this mouse, or I need this chair, in order for me to be able to do the job and work full time and work so that I could build the future that I wanted. So that is, like we were talking about at the beginning, very much connected to how our self-worth is, how healthy that is. Because if I was hired because of the skills that I had, then surely they're going to value me enough to go, yeah, of course you can bring your own keyboard in. Yeah, of course you can, you know, we'll buy you this chair, or, you know, and you know, I've been in some jobs where they were like, oh, I don't really want to spend money on this chair. I was like, no.
Hello. But actually, more importantly, you had your self-worth there intact enough to say what your needs were.
A long time to be able to learn how to do.
Right.
Because
to make your needs met.
I got so tired of being fearful of being in that amount of pain from doing just, you know, what anybody else would consider a normal job. I got so tired of that feeling that's when my self-worth kicked in this area. I was, no, listen, you know, I need to be able to come into work tomorrow, and this is what I need. And you help me.
So sometimes would you say then that it kind of takes us to get so far to a certain edge, where then something inside kicks in, and goes, okay, that's enough now, whether that's the situation in your case, or I don't know, somebody suffering in an abusive relationship, or somebody, any number of examples.
It's those sharp edges that you talked about.
Right, like that, sharp edges.
It's yours. That's what
Did I say that?
Yeah. You said that the other week.
Oh, right.
You called them sharp edges.
Okay.
And the sharper those pointy bits are, the more painful they are,
Yes.
the less tolerance we're going to have for them.
Yeah.
And that's when things start to change, when things
Yeah.
become so uncomfortable.
Yes,
Or we
absolutely.
know we need something so much, we have to ask for it, or have to be able to ask for it.
Yes. And I think what happened to me in that work scenario was that if it hadn't been for the voluntary redundancy and the new contracts being awful, you know, that was the kick I needed, I guess, in some way, to make some change.
The universe showed you something, didn't it?
It certainly did. Amazing, isn't it? But this is like the mindset. Yeah, hello. You must change now.
Yeah.
What's that now? There's a lovely quote, Karina, sorry. I can't remember the guy's name. It's very famous. You might remember about that, or somebody in the group, if you can't, that the rose bud.
Every rose has its thorn.
No, but it's true, but no. Yeah, but no, but the rose or the flower gets to a point in its growth where it has no choice but to flower, or the rosebud has no choice but to flower, because to stay still would be more painful. It would be more painful to stay still than to blossom.
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell?
Unfurling, you know.
Yeah.
So it's that constriction again that we were talking about.
There comes a point.
I don't know what that quote is.
Yeah, somebody will know.
Come on, help us.
Come on.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, I think also it's how attuned we are to either seeing a redundancy, for example, as an opportunity, or being able to see it, or seeing it as something really bad and the end of, and you know, a falling off point instead of a up point.
Absolutely. I was so in denial that it was even happening. Yeah. Oh well, just carry on and say it can't be that bad. Yeah, till I was in a meeting, a team meeting with HR, and they showed us the contracts, and I thought, okay, that's taking the biscuit, really. So I was late to take my redundancy, but I did in the end. But it was a process. Yeah, it was a process of, okay, come on. Yeah, a call to action.
Yeah,
a real call to action, and dealing with the gremlins and resist my own resistance, really. Until, like the flower, like, okay, this is too much now. I must do something. I must do something different and burst out. Whew. And then, boy, but you have to be ready, you know, because when you burst out, your life, that's it. You can't go back. You can't go back.
Because you're awake, right? You don't want to go back.
Yeah, you know, exactly. And then opportunities, then they snowball. They can, the potential for that to happen is there. Just from saying yes to life, really.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I like that. I mean, it's nice to be comfortable for a while, but then it gets boring. And we need to stretch in order, you know, we need to stretch, don't we? We need to.
I find languishing quite uncomfortable.
Right. Yes, some people really can't. I come for little bursts. Not. I don't mean weeks and months. I just mean, you know, throughout the day. Having a break now and again is quite nice. But but yeah.
What I mean though is languishing somewhere out of pure unwillingness to stretch. Even when you know you're bored, even when you know you're capable of more. Something inside you is telling you that you are, but you're just languishing.
And I wonder if people who languish, whether there's such a deep fear, you know, and perhaps self-esteem or self-worth is so low. And the longer one leaves it, the harder it is to come out of that.
Although I do have a friend who's quite happy, just, you know, plodding along where he is.
Right.
And he did consider management at one point, because his wife did, and I coached her into figuring out what it was that coached her with figuring out what it was that she wanted, whether she wanted to take a step up or not. And she chose to. And he got the opportunity and just thought, no, I'm happy where I am. I don't have to do too much. I'm not bored. I like what I do.
Well, then maybe that's the thing. Then if he's not bored and he likes what he's doing,
then why change it?
That's it.
You're not going to have that urge or that drive.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like that we were talking about, when things are so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We have no choice but to.
Yes.
We feel that contraction or restriction.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's painful.
Yeah.
It doesn't make us happy. And our life feels like it could have more meaning than it does.
Absolutely. So if you were happy and you weren't bored, but and then see, I struggle with this, and I remember having a conversation with Emily, who may be watching, Emily Johnson, who was our coach and still is really, our mentor. And I remember talking with her in Manchester after a workshop that she'd run, and I was saying, well, what if, you're doing a job that is less than what you could be doing? Is that okay? Because I'm always of the mindset of let's be all that we can be, and let's not push, that's the wrong word, but let's kind of come out of our comfort zone, see what else is out there, if possible. And Emily said, well, if they're happy and they're shining their light, their brightness, if you like, in that scenario, and they're really happy, then that's fine. That's okay. Otherwise, I guess it's like I'm putting a judgment on what I perceive should be a quality of life.
Absolutely.
And actually, that might be really far off the mark.
Completely. We have no idea what it is to walk in somebody else's shoes.
Absolutely.
They could be perfectly happy with the life that they have or have chosen. I had a lady ask me months ago. She didn't understand what coaching was for, why people needed coaching. And I said, well, because she was like, oh, I don't mean to be rude, but I said, you're not being rude. What is it you would like to understand? And she said, well, why can't people just get on with their lives? Why can't they just live their lives? And I said, well, some people are happy the way their lives are, and some people aren't. And those people who aren't are looking for something more than what they have. And when they look for a coach, that's because they are looking for some help and some guidance and some support in finding that path forward. And she looked at me and she was like, oh, okay, but she was perfectly happy, she had a husband, she had a job. She didn't want or need anything else. She was fulfilled, and that's a beautiful thing as well.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes I guess that striving for and reaching potential, that sometimes in and of itself can be a kind of place from unhappiness in itself. That striving to, maybe there's something better. Have I achieved my full potential? Oh no, there's another judgment I haven't achieved. I better keep going to achieve that magic potential, whatever that might be.
That could be external influences saying,
Absolutely.
you should be achieving more. You shouldn't be happy with your lot. Look at your brother or look at your sister.
That's right. Comparisons.
And that can be damaging in itself, because maybe that person is perfectly happy but feels that they should be doing something else,
exactly,
even though they don't want to.
Absolutely. Is your neck okay?
No.
Not, is it? No.
It's gone into a spasm.
Oh no. Okay, well, we can cut well, we have done a fair bit today. Anyway, if you wanted to leave that there. And
It's a bit hard to talk right now.
yeah, absolutely. No, maybe breathe. We'll do some exercises
Yeah.
together, maybe after
That'll be
this. Okay.
good.
I think it's a good time to leave it there then.
Yes.
Okay then.
Thank you, Sue.
Great. Thank you, Karina. Great. Another stimulating conversation as ever. Thank you.
Yes, gratitude to you.
And to you. And we'll see you folks next week.
Bye.
Bye.